Okay, this one's a little bit more unconventional, but anyway. Yeah, I'm talking more about Elder Scrolls. Sue me. Two things before I do that though. One, Adler's Fate, episode 10 is still in development. It's delayed because that's things that happen. I wish I had an ETA, but there's growing pains with changing how production works. I mentioned it in the last update video. For those of you who don't know, who are just here for the Elder Scrolls, I actually do work on my own sci-fi audiobook called Adler's Fate. It's a little furry adjacent. You could have guessed that from my profile picture. It's whatever. It's about war and invasion and a little bit of politics. It's kind of inspired by Battlestar Galactica, a little bit by Nature of Predators. Interesting stuff. Whatever. Number two, I'm on a new mic. You can probably hear it. It's fantastically better than my Yeti. This will be the mic that I will be recording Adler's Fate on starting episode 11 and onward. So, stay tuned for that. Hopefully it should bring a lot more quality and silkiness to the experience. Now, what am I talking about today? Great. I'm glad you asked, citizen, because this is something that I care about because I'm currently between jobs, which means I'm unemployed, which means I care about things. By the way, Hassan shocked his dog. Anyway, Elder Kings 2 is a mod for Crusader Kings 3, which is a game that, simulates medieval Europe and a little bit of Africa and, a little bit of, the Middle East and, Central Steppe Russia and all this other stuff. Elder Kings 2 is a mod that makes it into Tamriel and the Elder Scrolls universe, and they even have, a nice little helpful tidbit down here where they're like, a total conversion mod which adapts Bethesda Software's acclaimed Elder Scrolls setting to Crusader Kings 3. It's set during the Second Era, and it features a highly detailed, entirely new world map covering the landmasses of Tamriel and Yakuta, both based on official lore maps and supplemental cartographic sources, as well as established popular fan interpretation. Okay, so this is based off of popular fan interpretation and official lore, okay? Roughly speaking. So they got an update 2 days ago. This is their subreddit, and this is where they posted the patch notes. In the patch notes, there was something that caused a little bit of a kerfuffle, a little bit of drama that I wanted to just quickly highlight in this video, both as a tester for the mic, but also just because I felt like it, and like I said, I'm unemployed. So they removed the Systrus culture completely. They just took it out. The only way that you can get it is if you hybridize two cultures. One of them is Breton, and it's geographically on the islands where Systrus actually exist in Elder Scrolls Online. They just got rid of it. And they didn't expand on why anywhere in the patch notes or anything. And it caused a bit of a kerfuffle because I think they underestimated the fact that, one, the Systrus have this much lore in the wiki, they're real. Just taking them off the map is going to do something, right? And they existed in the Isles where they were from since the First Era and into the timeline past where this is set into ESO. So they existed from then to then. So they're there. It's just weird that they would take them out. They also have a bunch of volumes and books, I think 9 or 10, dedicated to just their backstory. And then as you saw for a brief second there when I clicked over to it, they're actually one of the sub-origins for Bretons in the remaster for Oblivion. As a child, you were spending time on the docks as one of the islands, gaining some money by helping merchants carry their goods and learning of their adventures. Okay, so it's the seafaring Breton culture that comes out of the islands. And they're featured in the Oblivion remaster, which basically means Bethesda signed off. Yep, they're canon. They're canon. ESO has them. They literally had a dedicated expansion about them. But for some reason, the devs just removed them. They just removed them for some reason. And that some reason, they actually put out an announcement earlier today. But first, I want to show you some of the funny crap I found. So one of the devs was saying Bretons in the most remote, Western islands don't make sense. Sorry. That's what this is here. They've doctored it to obviously say Bretons and Atlantic instead because the Falkland Islands are so fucking far from Britain. that yeah. Apparently there was a lot more like vitriol chucking yesterday, but I only found this today. So this is more just amusing at this point for me. But yes, they were basically pushed into making a full announcement because of how bad the backlash was on Discord, allegedly. And they kind of said a nothing burger about it. So they removed this culture that exists in Elder Scrolls universe. And this is how they explain it. Hi, y'all. There's some level of confusion around the decision made around the Systreans. Generally speaking, there isn't much interest in the internal development process, but in this particular case, there's some strong attachment to the previous setup. So, to provide some context, the EK2 team discussed the Systreans in 2022. At the time, we had already done some work on the Systreans and come to a team consensus that we'd try to develop something that was consistent with the rest of the EK2 setting. However, our focus shifted elsewhere, and essentially by mistake, the previous Systreans status quo was implemented, blah, 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 blah. And basically the way that they explained it is they came back to it and they said, oh, we forgot to do this, so we're just going to remove them now. After people who play the mod had them in there for like 3 or 4 years. And obviously, and then now down here they give like a little like weird, I don't know if you'd call it like a misnomer. There's also been some discussion of ESO. It's important to note that ESO is a long-running MMO that is not always internally cohesive. ESO is also a postmodernist text, which means that it's self-referential and also makes ton of external references. Blah, 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 blah. So what they're arguing here is something that a lot of people with Elder Scrolls lore argue, is that Elder Scrolls lore, when we read books in-game, they're written by people from the universe and they have a limited perspective. That sort of thing. So, like, things that people say cannot technically be taken for granted in Elder Scrolls unless we observe it directly. Here's the problem. You can directly observe the Systreans and their duke and their leader and all these other things in ESO. They're in ESO. You can go there physically as a person in the game, in the universe. So I don't know why they included this. Very bizarre. We hope you continue to enjoy our mod. So, and I've kind of like scrolled the comments down here. I've scrolled, I've checked, I've looked. A lot of the devs appear to not be in a state where they really want to do anything about it. They're not going to change it. They're going to just keep it this way for some reason. I don't know why. It's because they've been pushed back on it really, really hard. I got to see if I could find... Maybe I should have just had this like pulled up. I don't know. There were a bunch of devs in here earlier. They're in the comments somewhere in here. I can't find them right now. But I think there's one in there that says like the team consensus is that we're not going to change it or whatever. We're not at this time. We're not going to change it. I did go through every single comment as of about an hour ago, and there's no indication that they want to go back on it. So there's been memes, and also somebody like, let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Here we go. Somebody patched it out. Somebody patched it out. Literally day of 17th. It's been updated today, of course. But yes, you can restores and improves the Systrean culture for EK2. People just put it back in. And they seem to think that that's like an excuse for not following the lore, I guess. I don't know. One of the devs in here said that Elder Kings is not lore accurate. And I have a bone to pick with that. I think like, so up until now, they've done kind of goofy things. Like they've had Aliad remnants who like you can play as, who have like 1 or 2 cities like down in Valenwood or in Morrowind. And like those are additive types of content. Okay, so they're like additions to existing lore, because there's nothing that contradicts that could probably be a thing, I guess, you know, like shrug. But this is them removing lore, right? That's different. That's different, and it's weird. So anyway, yeah, I don't expect this to be a very interesting video for most people, but for those of you who care about weird map games and modding scenes and developers being weird and adding Oblivion gates to Whiterun Town Square. You're welcome. I just caught you up on this riveting news in the modding scene. Congratulations, I guess.